the billionaire donors lifting the cap on salt. We put a income cap in place.
Why are you here right now?
Didn't you want all Republicans to be here? I'm here.
Where are the rest of your Republican
You wanted
colleagues?
Republicans to be here. I'm here.
Why are you
And
here?
by the way, you can pass an ACA extension right now. Sign on to this bill.
Did your boss
sign on to the bill?
Is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
HR 5145. Why don't you get on it?
Mike, is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
Why won't you get on it?
Because you don't work for the American people.
Oh, I do. I work for the people of New York. I work for the people of my district.
Is that why you?
I'm here.
You got 140.
And by the way, I voted for a clean CR to keep the government open and funded. You voted to shut it down.
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Yeah, leader, with all due respect, you're the one.
Why are you playing yourself?
You're the one who actually voted to shut the government down.
So yeah, she totally just confronted him and asked him, why can't you do these things now? And then he still decides to lie. You guys got to check out how Dana Bash out of CNN just embarrassed Hakeem Jeffries, and how everybody from the Democrats already knows how he's lying and what he's lying about. And you guys got to check out this clip. There's also another clip going around of him getting humiliated by a Republican. They had an argument in a hallway, and this just does not look good for Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, as a lot of this, what they're doing is because they are trying to appear to the far left side and radical side of their party. Apparently they're having a huge march that apparently a lot of people are worried is going to get violent, because a lot of people, including millions, are going to hit the streets to march against President Trump. But take a look at this clip. Let's actually take a look at this and dissect this.
Engagement to try to find
You're
common
right down
ground.
the hall from Mike Johnson's office. I know exactly where you are. You could probably take a few steps and go knock on the door and talk to him. Have you tried that?
Speaker Johnson hasn't been given permission to have a conversation with me or Leader Schumer, and he said as much earlier today.
So you don't think he would talk to you at all?
We can have a conversation, but the problem is that until they get the green light to actually have a meaningful discussion to try to find common ground and a bipartisan path forward, and a willingness to address the damage that Republicans have done to the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people, then of course any informal discussion is going to be not fruitful.
Look at her face. She's ready to rush off air. This guy, I mean, she treated him like a baby. She literally said you could just walk down, have a conversation. What is all of this that you're doing? You know exactly where his office is at. You've been there before. You're not that far off, but it's actually just, again, little kid stuff. But Speaker Johnson does have a response to this. He actually ended up, once again, exposing what it is that these guys, again, aside from their march, right? Their No King's March against President Trump, their propaganda to try to win again in 2026, because the party is going extinct. This doesn't feel like they're going to win again unless Republicans find a way to lose it. Well, what's sad about this is that this is the basic truth here, is the fact that, you know, Speaker Johnson got up there and he exposed what the Democrats actually want in order to reopen the government. They just voted to keep the government closed again today. They've been having a vote. John Thune announced they've been having a vote every night and every day, you know, for the last 14 days, but they just don't want to do it. But what exactly is it that Hakeem Jeffries want, and why is he avoiding the conversation with Speaker Johnson? Well, here we go.
And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa. And $2 million for, quote, organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa. We are not doing that. And they would send a
we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So we kind of get a basis of as to why this conversation hasn't happened, even though they're so right there close to each other, why the government hasn't been reopened. Then again, you know, Democrats want to act like this is some type of victory for them. Trump has literally announced, and many announcements have already been made on CNN, that, hey, these federal agencies are going to suffer. People are going to get cut. And this is already somewhat of Trump's plan. He wanted to shrink in the size of the government. That is exactly what Republicans want to do. So this is actually a win. And also on the big side of this is the military is continuing to get paid. There was $6.6 billion every week that must be paid to the military to keep them, you know, paid as they serve this country. So that's being taken care of. What they're worried about is really the federal workers that are again losing their jobs. But this is madness. Listen to what it is that these people want in order to reopen the government. That is with yours and my tax-paying dollars. This is what they want. This is what they want. You heard it from Speaker Johnson there as he exposes this. And, you know, what's crazy about this is, you know, there's other news, because I do want to get back to Hakeem Jeffries, but stick with me here, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, dares Democrats to sue President Trump after he found a creative way to pay the troops during Schumer's shutdown. Again, the outsmarting of this is literally pretty impressive to me, because I thought many things could go wrong here. And the only thing that I can think about going wrong here is for the Democrats right now, because there is a way. $6.6 billion has been paid to the troops. That is something that they wanted to hold over Trump's head, over the fact that this government shutdown is continuing for 14 days now, and it could continue for longer. Some people are predicting that this can go on for long. But take a listen to what Speaker Johnson has to say here.
Look, my understanding of this is they have every right to move the funds around, duly appropriated dollars from Congress to the Department of Defense. There were some R&D accounts that had not been spent, and that's my understanding is that's the money that's being used to pay the troops right now. If the Democrats want to go to court and challenge troops being paid, bring it, okay? I'm grateful for a commander-in-chief who understands the priorities of the country, the necessity of national defense, and the urgency that we all feel and have voted for 8 times. Republicans have voted in Congress 8 times now between House and Senate to fund the troops and pay federal workers in all these essential jobs and agencies, because we understand the necessity of that. Meanwhile, the Democrats voted 8 times to block their paychecks. I'm grateful we have a president who is willing to step up and do the right thing. Thank you all so much.
So again, that is some huge updates there from Speaker Johnson, who again, Hakeem Jeffries refuses to speak to. But what is Hakeem Jeffries busy doing? What is Timu Obama busy doing? This guy has absolutely no swag. I don't even know how he's from Brooklyn. Is he really from Brooklyn, or is he like from Brooklyn the same way that AOC is from the Bronx? That's a question some of you guys can probably help me with. But now let's go to an argument that took place in Congress, right? And this was between Mike Lawler out of New York and, of course, Hakeem Jeffries out of New York as well. And this was a wild argument here that they had, because you just see exactly what Hakeem Jeffries is. And it's not impressive, man. This guy is getting cooked here, getting outclassed. Somebody said the bar was already very low. And yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a good thing. Take a listen.
Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
Did
the
your
ACA
did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you
I-
vote to shut it
Let me
down?
ask you a question.
For years, you always
You're
lectured about
making-
how we need to
you're
keep the
making
government
You're
open.
making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
Yeah, by the way, he's confronting him on the fact that he is not opening the government. He's always voted to keep the government open, since he cares about all these federal agencies and all these essential jobs and all these things that are going to affect Democrats in a very harsh way, and also Americans. So he's confronting him on this.
irrelevant.
It said you could easily sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an
You
embarrassment.
could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me
Why
ask you a
won't you
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a
Let
clean
me ask
extension
you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one thing
Clean
that we know,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax
largest-
cut bill that gave the
the
largest
largest
tax
cut-
cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by
largest-
the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you
yourself right
you want
now.
to cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that what
largest
you
cut
wanted
to
to do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
rooted
history.
out
You voted
waste,
for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New York,
Let me ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2
If
billion
you're gonna- if you're
were
gonna-
wasted.
Listen, you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk to me.
Wasted
You're not
on
going to talk to me
fraud
and talk
and
over
non-New
me
York residents
because you don't
getting
want to
paid.
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm
So
listening.
why
Go
don't you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you
is
showed
that-
up.
is that the way to
you
talk?
showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one
I
big ugly
signed on
bill.
for this. You can extend it right
A
now.
permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of
So
Americans.
they can get a permanent extension.
90% of
But
Americans
working
take the
class
standard
Americans
deduction.
can't? Is that right?
90% of Americans take the standard deduction,
Is that
right?
right?
If you had your way, the standard deduction would have been cut in half. That
No
would have been a
one-
massive tax increase
one-
on Americans all across the country.
You're
You support
here,
that?
unfortunately.
You're against
to do
lifting the cap on
bidding
salt?
of your billionaire donors.
Yeah, what's crazy about this argument is the fact that Mike Lawler seems to be arguing policies and things that he has probably voted for or against, and he's pointing out, some of the weaknesses that, again, Hakeem Jeffries has, and Hakeem Jeffries is just going straight personal, right? Telling him to shut up, keep your mouth shut, all these different things. Your boss, Donald Trump, and all these different. He's not really arguing policies here. It sounds like Mike Lawler is again going at him for the things that he has voted for, and the fact that he is now voting to keep the government not open, right? Something that he's done obviously before. Also, scams in New York City, where has the billions of dollars have gone? Again, like he is mentioning things again that many probably aren't familiar with, but again, he's mentioning things that have to do with votes and policies and money and the people that vote in these districts for these people. But he is not arguing any of that. He's just talking nonsense.
The
That's
billionaire
all-
donors, lifting the
That's
cap on
correct.
salt, we put a income cap in place.
Why are you here right now?
An income
Where the
cap.
re- where
Well,
the rest
didn't
of
you
your
want all
Republican
Republicans
colleagues?
to be here?
Where
I'm
the
here.
rest? Where are the rest of your Republican
You wanted
colleagues?
Republicans to be here. I'm here.
Why are you
And
here?
by the way,
Why-
you can
Why-
pass an ACA extension right now. Sign
your
on to this
boss-
bill.
did your boss
Sign
Donald
on
Trump-
to the bill.
Is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
HR 5145. Why don't you get on it?
Mike, is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
Why won't you get on it?
Because you don't work for the American people.
Oh, I do. I
You
work
don't work
for the people of New
the
York.
17th
I work for the
District.
people of my district.
Is that why you? Is that
I'm
why
here.
You got 140.
And by the way, I voted for a clean CR to keep the government open and
Mike,
funded.
you're-
You voted to shut it
You're
down.
embarrassing yourself right now.
Yeah, leader, with all due
Well, as they
respect,
would say
you're
back
the
in the-
one,
why you playing yourself?
you're the one
Why you
who
playing
actually
yourself with
voted
these
to shut
theatrics?
the government down.
Actually, you
It's
know
sad.
that's not true.
It's sad. You voted to shut the government
Listen,
down.
Do Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the President?
Right, and
correct?
you're smart enough to know
Is
that you
right?
need 60 votes in the Senate,
Is
right?
that right? No.
Do you need 60?
You need 60 votes in the Senate, you liar. You liar. Look at this. He's getting cooked. Again, these Democrats are trying to make it believe that because the Republicans, if you voted Republican, right? And I'm only saying we because I ended up voting for Trump, but I probably would never vote Republican all the time because Republicans could just be as bad. But in this scenario, let's be very honest here. The Democrats are so bad that he thinks that the American people are stupid enough to believe that just because you control the House, the Senate, and the White House, that you still don't need 60 Senate votes to go through to keep the government open to vote on this clean CR bill. So again, like he's just outsmarting him on this. This is I don't want to say the word that I'm thinking.
Smart enough to know
that
that you
right?
need 60 votes in the Senate,
Is
right?
that right? No.
Do you need 60 votes in the
Were
Senate or no?
60 votes needed to pass your one big ugly bill?
Reconciliation, which you
Was
did with
six-
the IRA,
was
and
60
boy, that really reduced inflation.
Are you
did a
trying to
great job
elevate
there.
yourself because you're afraid
I'm not
you're
trying to
about
elevate
lose
myself.
re-election?
No, I'm not going to lose
Let me
re-election.
ask you a
You spent $42 million last cycle. You didn't do that great.
Why aren't you running for governor right now?
Because I actually enjoy this job, and I'm here to do
You
it. And
enjoy-
by the way,
you enjoy- you
could
enjoy
actually
embarrassing
pass.
yourself?
You could actually
You
pass
enjoy being a lackey
a
for
subsidy
Donald
right
Trump?
now
Is that
to
right?
ensure that people don't have healthcare premiums going up. Why won't you support this one-year bill?
Yeah, so I'm just going to stop it right there. Look, this is the difference between logic and emotion. He's getting outclassed here because he is mentioning everything that the American people even care about. Again, speaking of healthcare, speaking of keeping the government open, you have all the control. You have all the inspiration and motivation to give to other Democrats to sign on it. So John Fetterman is one of those people that, wants to keep the government open. So when you have this argument going back and forth between Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Lawler here, you notice the differences that, hey, I just did the Gavin Newsom. Oh my God, I got to stop watching these videos. Funny Gavin Newsom videos. I'm over here doing the Gavin Newsom stuff. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. But this is what he is doing right now. So if you're wondering where Hakeem Jeffries is at, he's in the hallways arguing on just literally emotional arguments about people belonging to Trump and this obsession with Trump and Trump and Trump and Trump. It's just tiring at this point. I'm just tired. I am tired of Democrats and Republicans at this point. I really am. I'm tired of everything. But in this case, we're speaking of New York. I'm tired of New York being so blue. It's out of control. that I even had to move away. Like it's just that bad, ladies and gentlemen. Hakeem Jeffries.